Hi,
Oh,
and welcome to another. Oh, hey, Nick. Way to interrupt my intro. Welcome to another by Crowdcast. This is a special beta test of our founder Q&A edition. So up until this point, we've been talking to mentors, really getting their feedback, and I thought it might be a good idea to bring a few founders on to give you some details about their experience, maybe answer a few questions. And it seemed like the right person to start with was none other than Nick Lambert. Nick, welcome.
hey, thank you, Rick.
Nick is what I think you would refer to as a Renaissance person.
For sure. Yeah.
Professional musician,
Yeah.
technologist, budding cooking show host, architect, painter,
painter, construction,
long distance swimmer.
Yeah, that's on the docket for sure.
Oh, okay, all right. So any variety of things that Nick has worked on. So I can't wait to get into a conversation with him, hear more about his experience. If this is your first time at Crowdcast, you're welcome to kind of hang out in the chat with other people who are part of this. And if you have questions for Nick, there's an ask a question button right down there that's near the highlighted number 9 right now, which means there are 9 questions waiting. If you have questions for Nick, make sure to go ahead and post them in there. And even if you don't have questions, pop over there and upvote questions that you like so we can make sure that we're focusing on the content that's most important to you. So Nick, why don't you just start out, give us a little of your background and your history. I can still remember the first time I sat down with you. Give us your journey as a founder. Yeah.
Boy, I'll try and keep it quick. I went to college, initially started at pre-med, ended up with journalism and theater, which I immediately used right away in construction. And then I was doing construction and music all at the same time. And then when both of those careers kind of started to reach their ends, I moved to Portland, started a little scoring studio, and I met you almost probably a month after I moved here. And just, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I got this cool thing. We want to do music. That's it. And you're like, cool. Yeah, music's new here in Portland.
People are getting into that.
Yeah, here. You're brand new to this.
Wow.
And from there, started a video game company, like you do, so that I could make music for video games. That was the only way I could figure that one out. Did that with family after everybody's saying don't ever start a company with family. It was like 80% family. Ran that for about 4 or 5 years. Went through Oregon Storyboard's first class, learned a ton, and then proceeded to go from that to helping run Oregon Storyboard for a while as kind of the community manager. And
for folks who aren't familiar with Storyboard, give some folks background on what that program was.
Well, initially it started out as the sister accelerator to Pi, and it was more focused on companies that were looking to tell a broader story using their product. It could be anything really. And I think what was cool about it was that it was more focused on kind of that slow growth of a company and allowing them to like build their product and build it and let it kind of ride, as opposed to, which is great, kind of that really quick and, hope for acquisition kind of a route. So, and then Oregon Storyboard kind of did a shift right as I was coming in, and we got a huge grant from Microsoft to focus on building a curriculum around using what was brand new at the time, the HoloLens. And so we built a augmented reality curriculum course for Clackamas Community College. We built an augmented or a holographic automatic transmission. And I think they might still be using it to this day. I went from there, did a few contract stuff, worked at central office for a bit, and now I'm at the Wild. And it has been crazy, especially the last month for us, because we're, collaborative design platform in VR, and you can do it remotely anywhere in the world with a bunch of people, and it's been amazing, the response we've been getting, while having to also balance this empathy, and trying to be highly aware of the situation, kind of where companies are at, because of all this. So,
yeah. Well, and I think I'd really love to hear more about that aspect of it, because I think for so many of us that were in the industry or observing the industry, I think the expectation was we were waiting for that iPhone moment, like some piece of hardware that everybody had access to that allowed people to develop on a singular platform. And it turns out that it's this much more kind of negative impact that is really causing the industry to take off. And I just love more of your insight on that.
It has been really interesting. We have a lot of people that kind of assume we're like a VR Zoom, which we're not. It's much more of a workspace than a meeting space. But it's interesting. I think, the stigma around things that we would normally consider lazy or overly nerdy, have taken a shift in the last few weeks, really. Gaming went from something that's a waste of time to something that's like a quality coping mechanism. It's this weird kind of switch. And VR is also kind of in that realm now, where, maybe not specifically around the use of just like pure escaping, like the escapism factor of VR is cool, but it can be dangerous, as with any type of thing, if you do it too much. But but it's a different world, and it's a different, we are at home a lot more. And what do you do with that? How do you even separate work from home at this point? And I think that, at least for me personally, that's been probably the hardest part of all of this, is like, when does my workday actually end? If we're, because we have people from the UK, we have people from, Asia or Australia, and they're all the time zones that are happening right now. And for us, I could just stay up and never do anything, and just talk to all these companies. But, and it's hard to not do that, to be honest, especially at the beginning of it, when everything just felt so chaotic. I was like, well, the best thing I could do is just distract myself with constantly working. And so, having I'm lucky that I have been a video game nerd for a very long time. And so, to be honest, I've had some of the best gaming times of my life in the last few weeks. It's changed. It's changed kind of everything and how we look at it. So.
Yep. You have mentioned, and in the title, you're an extrovert. You like being around people. I mean, I don't understand it in any way, shape, or form, but
I know you.
How have you been dealing with this in this kind of new existence where, you're the typical thing that really recharges your batteries is something that's completely inaccessible to you? Is technology helping? Like, how are you coping with that kind of stuff right now?
Yeah, technology for sure. Or like the Grubhub person from afar, like, thank you.
At least you're a person. Hello, person.
I saw you, and you're a human. I think technology is almost the only way that I've been able to stay sane with kind of being able to have some sort of human interaction. I've definitely been using Instagram a lot more. My usage on my phone, a lot of people are like, turn it off during all this. The percentage, the weekly, and mine was up so much.
Yours was like a full work day.
It
right?
was almost an entire full work day, which was fine. But oh boy, yeah, it was. But at the same time, I wasn't like ashamed of it. It just kind of makes sense, especially for where, I'm messaging people on Instagram. I'm texting a lot more. I'm FaceTiming a lot more. My creativity has taken a weird path where I'm making stuff purely to the audience of me, because I'm, in terms of like immediate reaction, it's just myself. So I try and do everything that I've done of all my like really dumb videos in like a single take or mind space. But there's definitely been a few times where I'm just, I don't know if it's lame or not, but I'm definitely just cracking myself up. And Paul is 100% correct. In those moments, I definitely think I'm hilarious.
Well, and what inspired the cooking? Like, if you haven't watched Nick on Instagram, you should watch his IGTV or some of his live stuff, some of his films. He's I don't know, like a savant with iMovie. It's really incredible. And we were talking about it before we came on, that one of the things I've noticed about this kind of new abnormal that we all exist in is production values have cratered. Like, Saturday Night Live people are recording from their apartments, and the late night hosts are in their garage, and like that kind of thing. And yet Nick always has to raise the bar on people with his iMovie lower thirds and captioning and stuff.
I mean, it's really been the best thing ever for me, because I haven't had to change my video quality or production at all. And I'm immediately in the top tier, just like in the last few weeks. So, I'll take what I can get around that. What inspired it? There's an account, this Australian guy, actually Paul Reynolds introduced me to this account. Nat's what I reckon. And he's been doing these like cooking things on how dumb jar sauce is and how easy it is to make jar sauce at home. But he's like legitimately making it, and it looks really good. And they really cracked me up, and I was like, man, I wish I could do one of those. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I literally don't have any of the ingredients to do anything that he's been showing. And so I just, and for some reason, a lot of people are talking about tacos. I don't know. To be honest, it's never planned. It's just like, I just kind of sit there and I'm like, I want to do this video. And so I just opened my fridge and grabbed whatever it was in there. And I was like, you know what? I can make something that looks vaguely like a taco with these. And so I did. And I
successfully.
Did. Yeah. I nailed it. It was awful. The textures were really, it was less how it tasted. It was just that combo of hard-boiled egg with string cheese all smushed together. But oh boy.
No, it's actually brilliant. Like, if you haven't seen it, you should definitely tune in and check it out. Before we get to the other folks' questions, folks may not know this, but you were a professional musician for a long time. Has this situation inspired new creative pursuits in music for you? Are you jamming with people virtually? Like, what's going on there?
I early on, I was much more in a headspace to do music stuff when all this started.
Yeah.
And there's been a few local musicians that I've actually done some like Zoom calls with. One of them is my friend Allison, and her project is called Nocila. But I've had a few Zoom calls with her, and we've sent stuff back and forth. It's been interesting because I think, there's this weird, and I know a lot of people talk about it, there's this weird pressure that we have to be like our most epic creative selves during this time at home.
Right.
And to me, that's just never how it's worked. I have to be kind of like in the mode for it. And it's really interesting to kind of come to terms with like, you know what, I'm not going to make anything of note during this time, and I'm okay with it. And I think, I did one early on, like I just sat down, I pulled out my saxophone from the basement that I haven't, and just like put a bunch of synths on a track and went for it. And then I just did the whole process in a matter of 3 days, and just I put it out on, it's on spot, it's all the things. I was like, well, I did that. It's not the greatest, and I'm not singing, which is the key there, because I don't like doing that. But I did it, and it's funny because I sat down just last weekend. I was like, well, maybe I have this idea. I'll try it with guitar, and I sat down for 5 minutes and was like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. And I think if everybody can just kind of be okay with that, I think there's this weird pressure, even on social media, like the ones that I enjoy. There's always this pressure to be creating something, because a lot of stuff that's out there, it looks great. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing really creative things. And that is always there. Like, I'm always thinking about it. I'm like, that's so good. Or I wish I put something out of that caliber, And so I've just learned to be okay with, I'm not going to do that. Also learned to be okay with, I don't ever want to be good at video creation. And I'm okay with being mediocre at best with that.
So much like this Crowdcast pursuit for me, just find something you're never going to be good at and lean into it.
Exactly. That's, okay. I mean,
perfect.
I can't recommend that enough.
Cool. It's very cathartic in that way.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be good at it, but just have fun with it. So
yeah. Well, and I do think there's a very serious note there with when your only form of intake is really being online and seeing what other people are doing, it's kind of hard to escape that output from others as well, and give yourself the headspace to kind of be creative or detached or focus on what you want to focus on when we're living, working, and everything in the exact same space day in and day out.
Right. I mean, there's nothing really that's differentiating any of our creative surroundings right now.
Right. Right.
We're all surrounded by walls and doors, and like me,
you have two doors and a plant. Yeah.
I brought this plant. It's on a stool and a guitar amp, so that it looks like it's a tall, beautiful tree behind me. So
it looks like it's growing out of the back of your head, actually, but that's neither here nor there. Yes. Oh, sponsor. Reverend Nats.
Yes.
I'm having the mandarin. Looks like you're having the pineapple.
It is so good. The pineapple.
I saw Nat in the chat. So hello, Nat. Thanks again.
It does. The pineapple one goes the best with the tacos I made.
Yeah. Perfect with tacos. And thank you as always, Nat, for your support. We really, really appreciate it as the I think you're now the official sponsor. Like for a long time, you were the unofficial sponsor. I think we just go ahead and make you official now. So we really appreciate your support. And with that, that's a great transition to getting into some of the, wow, we have 14 questions now for you. So we could be here all night. So let's get going on this. And if you want to wander into the kitchen for this question and see what you got in the fridge, please feel free. If not, if you can't get past the plant, that's cool too.
Yeah, I definitely trapped myself in here, but it's worth it. The back.
Okay. So. It's very high production value for sure. All right. You've been doing a lot of cooking during the pandemic lock-in, and thankfully you're recording it for all of us. So what do you think Cammie and I should make for dinner tonight?
Do you want, well, first off, do you have potatoes?
Yes.
Great.
I think so. Yeah.
Make gnocchi. Just do it. Just crush it up.
Dude, that's really hard.
No, it's not. Dude, it's so easy. You just...
You're a professional chef. Of course it's easy.
This is actually one thing that I know that I have made legitimately. Just shred it, put some flour in it, and then just make the little balls and boil water and drop them in there. That's it. Then use
Can I tell you, in our Walla Walla background, can I tell you I have a real hang of it about gnocchi?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I always forget.
Very short story.
Yeah.
So I had a roommate in college who, we'd a bunch of us in the house were athletes, and he was a runner, but wasn't like a competitive athlete. And we all came home from practice one day, and we were just famished. And he's like, "Oh, I want to make gnocchi for you." Literally 6 hours later, still no gnocchi.
Oh, see, like, it's so much quicker. I mean, this is not.
I don't believe you.
Dish.
I have baggage about gnocchi.
It's basically it's thick French fries.
I'm from Idaho. I should appreciate potato pasta.
Gnocchi.
Still,
thick French fries. You're welcome, everyone.
That's your next video. just get some more Ida fries and be like, gnocchi, done. It's a short video for you. You're welcome. All right, next question. And this one's actually I think it's tongue in cheek, but I'm actually quite curious about this one. So how do you do all these things and still have that glowing energy that you do? I also have a variety of interests in my life, but often get major fatigue trying to pursue them all. So what energizes you about this stuff?
A very good question. At the end of the day, I think for me, it has to be, and this just sounds so lame, it just has to be entertaining to me. I mean, I want to be able to watch it at least one more time after I make it and chuckle at it. And I think it'll sometimes be enough, especially now where my human interaction is literally me in like a physical world.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and then, any comments that I get about it just adds to that little energy meter every time. But in terms of kind of like keeping it up, I mean, if I'm being real, it's definitely peppered with not upbeat days. Like, it'll be, I can have a lot of this up, and online it can just I can look like I'm just doing great all the time. Right. And, with in between these, terribly made food videos, there's like there's low days in there, and days where I won't even go on social media. I struggle where I want to cancel all my meetings on that day and these types of things. And it's, and you can tell, at least for me, it's I know the instant my eyes open in that morning, if it's going to be one of those days, and it's very unpredictable. And I think we all have been having them. And it's, I'm fine with stating that I have those days. And they're not great, but I feel it's healthy to get to have them to get it out. I don't think it's healthy at all to just like force yourself to be in a better mood. I think sometimes really sitting with it, at least for me, has been the most beneficial. Even if that's like giving myself, I'm going to go and sit on the back bench and just, cry for a few minutes. It's just feeling it for what it is, and just getting it out. I think that's just been, for me, kind of the most healthy move I could be making. And then usually either at the end of that day or even, the next day, I usually have that energy back again. And I think it's just because I'd rather be on kind of the extremes than be constantly floating in that middle range of like, yeah, I'm doing fine, like every single day. I'd rather have times where I'm like, I am doing actually pretty good today, or I'm actually doing really, really shitty today. Like, and I think it's okay to have those. But yeah, I mean, it's just been a balance. It's been a balance and I think luckily I have a way to, when I'm feeling really silly for the day, I have a way to express that.
Well, and is that something special about this time that we're in right now and the humanity of a global pandemic? I mean, think about back to like Mountain Machine days. You would never have given yourself the permission to let down or stop hustling or any of that. So I mean, is that a positive that's coming out of this situation?
I 100% think so. I mean, I do not shy away from how unhealthy I feel the startup world is. And I've had many conversations with you about it.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, when I was running Mountain Machine, I mean, it was rough, and I would have those days, but I could never sit with it. I could never like even show it really in a way that, and it's just because this responsibility that you feel as a founder, like I have to be the strong one for my company, and I have to be the strong one for everyone who's working with me or for me. And you can't let up. And that's not okay. It's just really, it is not okay. And we shouldn't encourage that. And I think, the companies that I've been working at that I'm not the founder and I'm not the boss, I have an extreme soft spot and empathy for my bosses. And like, even with, people that are above me, it's like a trickle down of, the founder has to be a solid emotionless rock unless it's being excited. And then the people right below them, they be like, yeah, it's kind of shitty right now. And then everyone else, and it just trickles down. And, like Gabe, I feel for him. He's got to deal with all this stuff. I think at the Wild, he's been great at being really transparent and honest with us when anything comes up, which has been, it's been a wonderful thing to be a part of, because I've been at companies where that wasn't the case. And like, everyone, the founders keep everything really close to the chest and everyone's kind of guessing all the time. And then below that, then there's, my new boss that I report directly to, Emily. She, like, her and I like our one-on-ones are basically like therapy sessions in a way. And it's been just this wonderful kind of trickle down within the company. And I'm really grateful for it. And I think I've been allowed to have the space to like admit, it was like 2 weeks ago and I woke up and it was on a Thursday. I had one meeting And I just told everyone, I was like, I can't do anything today. Like, I just need a day. And everyone was really supportive. And we just need to do that for everyone. It's just, it's a crazy world right now. And I think having empathy for humans is something we should, one, always be doing. And especially so now, and even more so for founders at startups. Like, it's just, it's hard.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there's something super interesting about the irony that never have we as humanity felt more isolated from one another than we have at this point in time. And yet at the same time, it's level set for everybody. So even that loneliness of being a founder that you could never reveal to anybody else that stuff was going bad. Like, everybody's going through the exact same thing right now. And that has some weird level set that gives us the ability to appreciate people's need to pause, or to take a day, or to take a few days. And I think that's a really, I think to your point, if we can hold on to that beyond this, minor blip in the history of humanity, then something really special comes out of this.
I agree. And I mean, I think just this understanding that we're all human beings here together. And it is interesting. I'd actually be curious kind of your thoughts on it, like, as being as introverted as you are. I mean, is it something that you are looking forward to? Like, are you excited to actually be able to see, I mean, not just me, but like, like, be around humans again? Obviously not to the extent where I'm just going to like run around and like high five every human that I see, but
right. I think that, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think I don't know that it's necessarily a personal need for me, but I realize there are dynamics of the work that I do that require being in the same room as somebody else. Like, I think one of the things I'm most concerned about, and you experienced it, and Mitch, who's in chat, experienced it as well, is like, there's some unique serendipity to just sitting in the same room with a bunch of other founders, and you can't really recreate that. And while I don't relish the idea of having to be on and around humans 8 to 10 hours a day again, I also want to be more accessible than, hey, let's arrange a Zoom call, or let's chat in Slack for half an hour, or like, I want to be interrupt driven because that's what I'm best at. And while it might not be my personality to be outgoing and extroverted, I'm very motivated to solve problems as rapidly and efficiently as possible, and that's just not, we're just not in that space right now. So I think that's what I'm missing most.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way, but just to more of an extreme.
I get it.
Get me humans.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. All right, you people are voting. I'm gonna do the questions by the votes. If you haven't submitted questions,
oh my god,
over there, or just go in there and vote them up, because I have to go by the votes. I can't. That's the thing I have to do. So the next one, which with 6 votes, thank you very much, is Nick. Does your hair look as good in AR as it does in real life, or VR, or XR? Take the acronym you like.
So, fun story, and quick, immediate answer: no. When I worked at Oregon Storyboard, a wonderful gentleman named Thomas Wester was there. And he did a scan, early days, like a little scan of my head, and put it in the HoloLens, and I didn't know that. And we I remember putting the HoloLens, and he had it in the space, like in the demo space, where I would put people who had never done this stuff before. And I put the HoloLens on this older woman, and she was so nice. And I put it on her, and I was like, okay, you should start seeing some holograms around. And she was like, oh no. And I was like, oh, are you seeing something? She's like, no, there's just this person that looks sad in this. So, oh no, I was like, oh crap, I had no idea. I put it on, and it's just the side awful scan of my head that that Thomas had put in there. And oh my goodness, it was so bad, and I was terrified of it. But then obviously whenever I did demos with people I knew, absolutely I pulled that head out, and they had to really deal with that.
We should have brought that into a tilt brush environment or something. We could have fixed your head.
Real quick funny story about tilt brush. So when we were doing demos of VR forever every single day, we would have like professionals come through, but we did a bunch of schools. And I remember Shelly was there, and we were talking about how she was like, man, I wonder what these kids are going to draw in there. And, you know, most of the time it's fire. Oh boy. I mean, everyone would draw like a sun, or they would draw a flower, or they would write their name. Like it was one of those three things always. And we get 12 and 13-year-olds in, and immediately, and I if I have to censor this, I apologize, but they just drew penises everywhere in tilt brush. Everywhere.
Not surprising at all.
Oh boy. Well, that was a weird side story.
But that's a great segue into how much introduction to XR did you have before joining the industry?
Oh boy.
They voted it. I
know. I definitely just kind of got thrown into it. I luckily had some experience with making games. I never learned to code. I just was producer and ran the show. But the going from that into like augmented reality, and also my extensive video game playing background, it just kind of made sense to me. And that I feel fortunate that I had that kind of headspace to think about the world in that way, and how can you augment this life that we are in, no matter what we're doing. And I've always, I work specifically in VR, and VR serves its purpose for like immersing you in whatever that environment is. But with AR, augmented reality, I've always seen that as kind of the ultimate like practical tool for the future and for us as humans. Because we're always so like information focused, and it just makes so much sense that our world would be augmented with the information that we want to see when we want to see it. And so I'm excited. I mean, Paul did a lot of incredible work over at Torch, and you know, and if no one's seen it or checked it out, I highly recommend checking out Torch on your app, and or on your phone. I can speak, and it's really a powerful tool. And I think the fear of technology doesn't make sense to me. I've never really followed that, but I mean, everyone's had our information forever, so just use stuff. But
this is a good one. I think will be very informative for many of us.
Oh dear.
As a major Instagram influencer,
Paul.
How do you handle all of the attention and sponsorships? And maybe if I can just bolt on, if people are interested in sponsoring you, how do they get a hold of you?
Slide into them DMs. That's what the kids say, right?
I don't know.
Just slide. I think that's wrong. I think that's the wrong use for that.
Yeah,
but do it. And I don't. For one, I definitely
do you take everybody? Like, you must have so many
well,
brands approaching you on a regular basis.
So many, it's overwhelming. I almost have to shut my account down because of it.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, if you only knew. But I've had one paying gig. They paid me $5.
Oh, nice.
To do a class.
Did you commission it on Fiverr to get that $5, or did they actually approach you?
They actually reached out. Their social media
fair.
person reached out. I actually think she's in here. But
this wasn't a tea brand of some sort.
I made a video for. Oh my gosh! Oh no! Oh no! What is Mayfly Tap Room?
Oh, okay.
So I did one for when they were.
Well, they're not paying you anymore, so it's fine if you forget.
True, but man, it was good. And I just talked about the gift certificates you could get. I did math incorrectly for them. They loved it. So, and then I did one for world famous brand Tivana. And I just did it because I felt like it needed to happen. Yeah. It's only like 20 seconds long. It would not have taken much for them to really, support me on that. And nothing. Yeah, they liked it that one time. I think there was a like, but I tried. So
basically what you're saying is no tips for the kids these days who want to get into being influencers. I mean, they're accidentally getting millions of views on TikTok because of some algorithm, and you're not helping them monetize that.
As I've learned, I'm really bad at literally every aspect of Instagram. And so I think just don't do what I'm doing. I need to be outside more. I need to wear tighter fitting clothes. I think I just need to be able to dance. These are the three things that I feel I'm lacking. And dancing's the big one. No one wants to see me dance. And two, why? Why would I dance?
Fair. Oh, because you're happy. I have no answer for
Definitely
that.
No.
Okay. Back to something a little more in your wheelhouse, better than dancing. So we've got AR, we've got VR, we've got MR, we've got XR. Can you briefly describe the difference among these acronyms and really good use of the word among, Lauren? Thank you, not between. Good grammar there. And technologies, since she can't seem to keep up.
Yes. And Paul can correct me if I am incorrect on any of these, but
and I'm sure he will in the chat.
Oh, he will. He will.
Probably in all caps.
AR, augmented reality, meaning you can still see the world around you, and you're augmenting it with, like I was talking about earlier, information. That's
so like Snapchat.
Exactly. Pokemon Go, classic AR.
Yep.
VR, virtual reality. That's where you would put, which I happen to have right here because of work. You would put one of these on your face and block out the world and be immersed in whatever reality you want to be in.
So fully immersive, no existing IRL stuff.
Correct. Okay. And then a combination of those is mixed reality. And to be honest, MR and XR are essentially the same thing.
Okay.
So they're kind of interchangeable. So
is there in the industry, because I mean, you're in the thick of it, like I know there's been a battle for like acronyms. Like, is anything gaining ground, or is it still just a big mess?
I think all the owners of these companies really want to push for like XR, but all the regular humans and consumers out there just won't do it. It's VR or it's AR. Which I'm fine with. I think when it first started, it was a little frustrating for everybody because we're like, well, it's too many things to say. But I mean, it's VR or it's AR. In my mind, like you're using your phone or you're using like one of the AR headsets, or you have VR, which is just closing it all off. So I'm basic like that. I just like to keep it pretty straightforward.
Well, and having been on that side of the desk at a startup, so often those things come about because you're trying to influence industry analysts and be the leading solution for whatever. So you create a new category, call it whatever you want, like, oh, look, we're the top solution in that category, which only causes more acronyms to pop up. So they're just rewarding that bad behavior.
They are.
Because people are paying them, so that works that way too.
It's funny because I feel like XR was really just, oh no, my boss is here.
No.
I was just going to say Gabe would kill me for saying anything about the AR stuff. I feel like XR was like the cool kids being like, you know what, for mixed reality, let's remove the M and the I and the E. And let's just go with X and R.
It's like the flicker of reality.
Oh my God. I love XR. I love you, Gabe.
Okay. Let's see. Next one. Ooh, this one just jumped to the top. Are you going to teach your nephew your music skills or your cooking skills? You can only pick one. It's either or.
Cooking skills.
Yeah. Okay. More of a life skill, you think?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to brag. My nephew, he's pretty young, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be musical. So he's good there.
Yeah.
Thanks, family member.
Here we go. Yeah. Are you reading questions ahead? Did any childhood experiences influence your career path?
Oh boy.
I know that Taco Bell and Walla Walla influenced your taco cooking skills.
I've loved Taco Bell ever since that. So,
new sponsor for the Crowdcast, Taco Bell.
I mean, if you're in Walla Walla, that Taco Bell is primo. Anyways,
I'm just jealous because it wasn't there when I was in Walla Walla. I had to drive to Tri-Cities to go to Taco Bell.
Let me think. I mean, my dad definitely, he gave me a lot of responsibility pretty early on with construction. Even if I felt I didn't quite have the confidence to do it, I think his confidence that I could just do it definitely helped me to kind of make all these crazy career decisions that I've made since then, and just kind of going for it. And I think, you know, when I moved to Seattle away from Spokane and was still doing some construction jobs over there, my dad just basically made me the foreman on these jobs and away from him. And he was like, you can do this, run it. It's a brand new school. You're fine. And definitely I probably learned more in like those couple years than I ever had in any other way. So.
Well, and I can remember you referencing that in some of our discussions, being the CEO founder, how those skills of like managing multiple moving parts, it was really effective in helping you kind of guide the company.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have found, I do the best when I can like kind of manage a team at the end of the day, and I think being able to take that and guide, um, and guide.
You're not. Don't read the chat. Don't read the chat while you're answering. Jeez.
I'm so sorry. I I think, it definitely helped me with being able to kind of navigate my way, not only like with running a team, but even dealing with other teams. So like when I was doing construction, we had to coordinate not just with like the flooring or the framers or these types of things. It was how do you work with all of these to get that one final successful outcome. And I think being able to navigate that, I mean, it helped me a lot. I think, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now or have done in the past if I hadn't been able to do all that. I'm sorry. The chat is killing me.
Yeah, the chat always goes off the rails at about this point in time. You just have to, oops, it's over there. Just like ignore it. Oh, here's a really good one. It's a more. I think we discussed some of the negative aspects of being a founder, but I saw your recovering founder title, delightful. What did you found, which we talked about which was Mountain Machine, and do you miss it?
It's a really good question. You and I were kind of discussing it before all this started, and I think all this time at home, I've had some time to think on it, and it's interesting because I miss aspects of it for sure. Like I enjoyed having this team that I was responsible for, and that we all, when we achieved these goals, it was, it's like nothing else, as I'm sure like a lot of people in the chat have experienced. When you hit these goals and you are able to like release something or anything like that, it's just this energy and high that you just can't experience in any other way. And that part I definitely miss. I don't miss the side of, and I apologize if anyone is in this chat, but I don't miss dealing with investors and like that side of it. I really, or even like having to pitch to get funding. I hate that. I hate that stuff. Like I hate having to ask for money, which is hilarious because I've done sales for so long. But like, I just want I want human connections. I don't want it to be based on finance. At the end of the day, I want it to be because we have a common goal. And whether that's, I'm going to help you achieve what you're wanting to do, or we're going to work together to achieve a common goal. That's what gives me the most energy. And I think being a part of the startup community, we're at the Wild, we're a little separated from everybody, just because we're doing good. I mean, and we're busy. And I think, and it's a really great space to be in. But there's times where I miss like being in the scrappy spot with a bunch of other startups and like other people, and we all just kind of get to learn from each other. And their success is also our success. And I think that was kind of the really exciting part of Oregon Storyboard, or even those that went through Pi, or are going through Pi. I think it's just, there's just something that you get being a part of something like that you don't, the kind of the further away you get from it. So.
Yep. We're getting close to time, but I wanted to make it, First of all, your boss wants to have Paul's question answered, so I guess I'll jump to that one real quickly. How does Nick Lambert use that door with that giant plant in the way?
Really simple answer for that. I don't.
Cool. Perfect. Done. You're welcome, Gabe.
No, I made this. This is now that everyone's here. Welcome to my home. There's one of my cats sleeping on the bed right there.
Is that an amp?
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure it looked like I had some foliage in my home. This is a fake plant, by the way, and I have a stool, and then I have my amp on top of that stool with this plant that was strategically all behind me. And
looks totally natural.
Right. And combined with this collared shirt that I haven't worn one in like 5 weeks. I mean, I'm basically in the islands.
So authentic for this Crowdcast. Thanks for bringing your whole self, Nick. Really appreciate it.
I also realized my heat's on, so I apologize if that sound is coming through. It's cold today, people.
It can't be any worse than my fans blasting at full force on my Mac right now. This one's actually a serious one I would like to get to before we close out, and that is, I am a college student and budding musician. Do you have any suggestions about managing time for both making music and starting a business? Like, how do you balance those two creative pursuits?
Oh man. I think to start, you have to dedicate time to both. Like you can't try and be like, well, I'll work on this one like when I get to it. I think if you really want to do it with both of those things, which is bold, and it's a hard, long road, but you just have to dedicate time to both. And with music especially, it's such a crapshoot. And, I really was just really, really lucky. And that's not ever been lost on us during that time. We just got really lucky. But, I still love doing music, and I'm grateful that I can do that every now and again. And I think if it's something you love, whether it's, music or cooking, better than me, or even like, gardening, it can be anything. And you just got to know that it's something you love to do, and you got to do it. And eventually, if people decide they want to pay you to do those things, incredible. And you should go with that. But I think it's just, there's a fine line between a hobby and a job. And I think it's hard sometimes to keep your hobby feeling like a hobby if it becomes your job. And so, what do you keep precious and what do you pursue as a career? I think that's really kind of the big questions you have to ask yourself.
I think that's really good advice. Thank you, Nick. Now's the time where we save a couple minutes for us to ask you, Nick, we as a community, people here in attendance or who are watching this later, what can we be doing to be helpful for you?
Oh boy.
I'm not coming to visit you.
Yeah, don't visit me. For one, don't even think about it. That's a good question. I mean, I think one thing that I really struggle with is asking for help. I am very bad at that because I just don't like to. And I think I have this kind of incorrect kind of my headspace around it where I shouldn't need to ask for help. So it's hard for me. I would say I really enjoy interacting with people on Instagram. So if you want to, you can follow me on there. That would mean a lot to me. Also, I love having conversations about, what we're doing at the Wild. I really believe in what we are building, and I think, it's definitely not going to be for everybody in here right now, but I think it's worth checking out, and I'd love to talk to you about it. I'm sure the rest of our team would as well, but I think I would encourage everybody to at least check it out. And yeah, I don't know, message me. It's just fun. I don't get to actually talk face to face to anyone. So this is, this has been great.
Well, Nick, we really appreciate you taking the time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to get to hang out with you in person again soon. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it. To everybody, yeah, of course. To everybody who attended, thanks for showing up. As always, we're just going to kind of keep these rolling. So tomorrow, especially if working from home or remote work is something that's new to you, or it kind of felt fun at first and now it's starting to feel like a grind, I'd encourage you to show up for our panel tomorrow, where we'll have Barrett Brooks from ConvertKit, Cami Chaos from Automatic, and Darren Buckner from WorkFrom, all of whom are just like really knowledgeable people about working from home and succeeding with remote teams. That should be a really good session. So again, really appreciate everybody showing up, and we hope to see you soon on the Pi Crowdcast. See you later.
Bye, everyone.